Alright folks, Post here. Welcome back to another Poem Masters video, and today we're going to go over a tier list for damage dealers. They're not exactly strikers, right? There's some strikers, some tech units, some supports in there. I think there's actually only literally one support, but mostly strikers and tech units that deal damage, usable in Balvilla, and tier list time. So as usual, with all tier lists, obviously this is subjective. If you disagree, that's all right. I don't really care. But yeah. Oh, before we go do this, shout out to NCS for helping me out with this one. When I do tier lists, I do like second opinions. When looking at stuff, I don't, if I just throw it out myself, there might be some stuff that I overlook, some stuff that I forget about, because there's like 50 something or maybe even 60 Pokemon here, right? That's a lot of Pokemon. So yeah, that definitely was helpful, and everyone else who also had a look at it had some suggestions afterward as well. Again, super helpful. Definitely really cool. Anyways, so let's get right into this then. So basically what we're evaluating, it's something that I don't usually like, because I generally like looking at Pokemon or sync pairs in a vacuum, in a vacuum without thinking about any, outside factors, how good they are, just mathematically, basically, right? But apparently a lot of people don't really care about that. But I really do. But yeah, so for this here, I'm actually going to also rank them based on their usability, right? In the Villa stage, because some Pokemon are more useful, right? That some that are super effective against certain stages, right, might be more useful than, say, I don't know, like Pikachu. Pikachu doesn't like, there's only like one stage that like Pikachu is like super effective. Well, not one stage. That one set of stages that Pikachu is super effective against, and it's like the first 5 stages that they never change. And also when we're talking about stages, we are discussing them, since they always shift orders. We're just gonna talk about them as they're equal, right? No matter the stage where they're at, if Nolan's at 30 or Derek's at 30, whoever's at 30, right? That doesn't matter. We're just gonna tell them as stages, right? So except for Rachel, which her set never changes, so that's why some of these electric type units might not be that great, unfortunately. So anyways, I think that's all the disclaimers I do have to kind of mention, right? Oh yes, a few more things. For units with sync grids, right? I'm only going to also, I will be also ranking units that have sync grids, and also going to rank their non-sync grid version only if they are a 5-star striker, right? If you're free to play unit, your sync grid is free to play, right? It's you get them from events, they're dupes, and those are all free. So we're not gonna do any non sync grid or free to play units. So basically just the 5-star strikers. So anyways, let's get into this then. So let's just do this in whatever order this is, I guess. It's random. But yeah, starting this off, speaking of Pikachu, let's go do Pikachu. So Pikachu's going in Rachel Gang and Friends tier, which, by the way, this is the best and this is the worst, if you can't tell. So Rachel Gang and Friends tier makes a lot of sense, because Pikachu is just not that great. I mean, Pikachu, honestly, I do think Pikachu is Pikachu a good striker when we're using it as a striker. Remember, this is as a striker. We're not going to throw, we're not going to grid it with, Potions Masters, all that stuff, Potion MP Refresh. We're just going to grid it as a striker with all the Paralysis synergy, maybe Power Reserves, maybe, I don't know, mainly I don't think I want to do Power Reserves, just mainly Paralysis synergy with Thorn Ball and other stuff. Does Pikachu do good damage there? Yes. Is it really good in a Villa setting? Not so much. Pikachu does so much better when you're using Pikachu in outside of Villa, right? Especially like co-op, where move gauge could be issues, right? And in Villa you don't really have that much of an issue, in terms of waiting, because you queue moves with all 3 of your units, right? So it's really easy to get through that. And Pikachu also does help move gauge and such. But the main reason why Pikachu's down here is, does Pikachu do good damage? Yes. Is Pikachu that useful outside of the Rachel set of stages? No, not really. So that's why Pikachu's down here. As for the next one, Blastoise we're gonna put in a tier above Pikachu, right? Blastoise is good when he does not miss, right? Which is, it's reasonable to give Blastoise some accuracy, and there you go, right? But generally, that is sometimes hard to come by, and also it just depends on your setup, right? Blastoise does need a bit of setup for it to be good, but when it's good, it's good. But also, Blastoise is basically only useful on the stages that are weak to water. Outside of stages that are weak to water, you're kind of not doing much. All right, moving on to the next one. Price gridded, also in Rachel, Gang, and Fred's tier, because Price, well, there's only that, it's only the Rachel stages that are weak to ice, and again, those stages are always in the first 5 and super easy. They do not do damage. They cannot take any damage. They just sit there and wait and die. Like, usually folks don't even use electric or ice or whatever types, right? What was the other one? Electric, ice, and I think water, right? Yeah, usually folks just use, Good Striker that they want to use on the next set. So that's just how disrespected the Rachel's set of units are. So, moving on, Floatzel's probably around in the same tier as Blastoise, right? Floatzel's is, in comparison to Blastoise, is more self-sufficient, right? Which is an upside. Not that, being non-self-sufficient is that big of a knock on it, because it's Villa, right? You should bring supports and you should use supports. But Floatzel does have Waterfall with what's called Aggravation, right, or something, which is really, really good because Flinch is great in Villa. Floatzel's downsides is it doesn't do that much damage. It's not the greatest terms damage. So there's that. Moving on to Beedrill. Beedrill, we're gonna throw Beedrill in this tier as well. Beedrill is actually not as bad as folks think, because Beedrill can poison opponents, which DOT, that's more damage, and then Beedrill also has Fell Stinger, I think that's what it's called, right? When you KO an opponent, that increases your attack, I think drastically or something, right? I think it's +3. Is it +3 or +2? Let me check real quick. Regardless, +3, +2. That's really good for Villa, because +3. Yeah, because you don't have to use any MP, and then you get like +3 attack for just like taking out an opponent. The downside is the dude's attacks are kind of poop, unfortunately, and there's that. Moving on, and plus there's just better bug strikers, unfortunately, for Pidgeot. Moving on to Avalog. Yes, I remembered Avalog existed. For I think all my past tier list videos, I completely forgot this guy existed. That's how relevant this guy is, and which is why we're gonna put Avalog into the Y tier. Why is this a thing? Why would anyone use it? It's ice type. It's for Rachel Gang. Just use Dugong instead. Dugong's better. This guy is just bad, unfortunately. So, moving on. Feraligatr was a really heavily debated one between folks, right? Feraligatr is an interesting one, and I'm putting it in I'm sorry for someone although Feraligatr is actually a good summon, but I'm just trying to make funny tier names, okay? But Feraligatr, obviously Mega Miss is an issue, but again, you could increase its accuracy, although its accuracy is actually really, really low, so you actually have to increase its accuracy a lot. So there's that as an issue, and also sometimes it's just better to use Waterfall, honestly. And when he does resort to use Waterfall, he just doesn't do that much damage. The dude's base attack is really bad, unfortunately, right? Let's say if we rank that by physical strikers, the dude as a physical striker, he's near the bottom of the barrel. So unfortunately, just doesn't do much damage when you're not using Mega Missing. So there's that, which again, when you are using it, it's fine, right? It's just hard, and also sometimes you just rather use Waterfall instead, just again for the flinch, which is really, really great in Villa. Moving on to another Sorry About Your Summon Luck, we got Roxy. Roxy, one of the reasons why it's down here is it's poison type, and poison type doesn't, there's just like that one stage, right? Lyra and like the other one poison stage. Okay, I guess the Hilda one as well. But it's mainly just the two boss stages, which everyone participates in, and also that one other stage outside. And it's just there's better poison types. Well, I wouldn't say poison types. There's literally just one better one. Well, actually, I'd argue Corbat's also better as well. But it's just Roxy's good. Roxy's solid for those stages that you need to use her, and you could use her and have relative success in that. If you want to move Roxy up one tier, that's fine with me, right? I just think she's overall just not that great, unfortunately. But again, she's enough. She's enough for what we need. Like all these units, they're not the greatest, but they're enough for what you're trying to accomplish, right? So moving on to Houndoom gridded. So Houndoom's interesting. So a lot of people might want to put Houndoom into the best of the best here, which I can see. I can understand that point of view. Houndoom, for me, I would just put it a bit lower just because of my personal experience. I just haven't really experienced too much with Houndoom. Like, again, on paper, it is really, really good. I'm just not sure if it could, 3v9 all those boss stages, right? Which is why I'm probably putting Houndoom one tier lower. And also, Houndoom does take slightly slow to set up. It's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst, right? But there's that as well. So, and also, Houndoom's supports are really, really good. As to why Houndoom is this high, for those who don't know, Houndoom does some of the hardest damage in the world with Dark Pulse, right? So there's that. You need Snarl set up, and then you need someone to set up Trap, and then maybe someone to poison as well. It's just that with the combination that you're getting there, you kind of are forced to either tank with it used to be you'd have to either tank with Masquerain or Meowstic, which wasn't the greatest, but now you have Milotic, so that's also a huge buff to Houndoom there as well. So moving on to since we're talking about Houndoom, let's also talk about the non-gridded version Houndoom. Non-gridded version Houndoom is all the way down here, unfortunately. Sorry for some although again, something for Houndoom is actually really good. I'm just trying to make funny tier names. Although it's not, it's funny to me. Maybe you guys don't think it's funny. But yeah, Houndoom's all the way down here because Houndoom does not do damage for Megas, and when it does Mega, it has issues, and also it's not that useful outside of stages that is Dark Week anyways, right? But hey, in Dark Week stages, Houndoom does fine. I'm pretty sure non-gridded Houndoom cannot actually 3v9 the Sawyer stage, unfortunately, so there's that. I mean, it's a Sawyer stage, so not a lot of people who do that. Moving on to the next one, Dragonite. Dragonite is an interesting one. Dragonite, I'm gonna throw it into the not bad tier. So, reason being, Dragonite, you got Potion, which is nice, so you don't die that easily. And also you got move gauges, which also kind of helps. Dragonite, the thing with Dragonite is you just need supports, a lot of them. Which again, is not that big of a deal. It's Balbilla, right? But sometimes you kind of want to conserve some MP, all that stuff. So yeah, but Dragonite does hit hard when you max them out, and for the Dragon Week stages, Dragonite just obliterates them. So go Dragon Week stages, throw in Dragonite, they're gone, right? So that's why Dragonite's over there. Moving on to Machamp. We're gonna throw Machamp into again, the Sorry About Your, there's a lot of Sorry About Your Summon Lock tiers early on in this video, right? Machamp is unreliable. Actually, this is a bit of an issue. And, again, we could fix that generally, but, there's just better, fighting type units out there. Also, same thing with Dragonite, right? There's better fighting type, better Dragon type units out there. Although Dragonite's still really good, right? But, Machamp more so Machamp. There's Wally and Lucario. They're just so much better. Why would you use Machamp, right? And again, hey, Lucario's free. So, moving on to the next one, we're gonna go Garchomp. This is our first unit that we have in the best of the best here. Garchomp gridded. Garchomp used to be you know, not bad. You know, I do think a lot of people do underrate Garchomp a bit. One of the main reasons why people do that is because there just hasn't been like any like ground week stages to really use Garchomp in outside like EXHO. So like people just kind of forget how good Garchomp was originally. But now with the expanded Synchro, Garchomp is just an absolute monster. Dude deals the most AoE damage in the game, which again AoE damage really good for Balvilla. And yeah, and Garchomp's buddy, Acerola, is actually really good now as well with the Synchro expansion. You could, you know, Astonish, Flinch, all that stuff. A lot of really good stuff that you could do with Acerola. Acerola is the, you know, one of the better weather setters in the game. Weather setters in the game, just because the fact that, you know, it has a Synchro and like all the others don't. I think this is the only one that has a Synchro. Yeah, it is. But yeah, Garchomp definitely really good now. So and also, you know, there is a ground week stage now. There used to not be one, and then there is now one. So we're gonna put Garchomp up there, and while we're talking about Garchomp, let's also rank Garchomp's non-gridded version. Garchomp's non-gridded version is fine. It's enough for what we need it for, which is just to beat the ground week stages. But unlike you know, gridded Garchomp, it can't, you know, 3v9 basically all the boss stages, which, you know, a gridded Garchomp can do, right? So yeah, regular Garchomp, good at what it does, and it is enough for what it does, right? So moving on, Lycanroc, we're gonna put Lycanroc also in this tier. Lycanroc hits really hard, right? Obviously not as hard as a lot of the newer units that came out, which does, you gotta push Lycanroc down recently, and unfortunately. But Lycanroc, again, it's still really good. Has self speed boost on his passive, right? Has good buffs, all that stuff. Again, hits hard. There are some downsides to Lycanroc and Villa. One being it does lower its special defenses when you use Hard as Diamonds, and you kind of have to use Hard as Diamonds, right? Because of Stone Edge's accuracy, you just have to use Hard as Diamonds every time. And again, Hard as Diamonds, not the best, you know, buffing move in the game. Like, it's not bad, but it also kind of exposes Lycanroc. So so Lycanroc, outside, like a lot of like tiers like this and under, is just they do, you know, well, maybe not the ones like too low, but you know, around like these tiers, they do really well, either really well or good enough to beat the stages that they're supposed to beat. And that's what Lycanroc is, right? Lycanroc does really well against the stages that it does need to beat, but outside of that, it can't really do that much, unfortunately, due to its limitations again on Hard as Diamonds. You know, once you've used the 2 Hard as Diamonds on the stages that needs, although there's like 3 stages, but maybe you could not use it on one of those stages. But then afterwards, it's just kind of it's just, you just can't really use it because, again, Stone Edge accuracy, all that stuff, right? Moving on to Tyranitar. Tyranitar got shafted big by this game, unfortunately. We're gonna put Tyranitar in Rachel Gang and Friends. Even though like it has nothing to do with Rachel, I just want to make that tier name, right? You'll see why later when it's called Rachel Gang and Friends. There's a lot of these folks in here. But Tyranitar, not the greatest unit, unfortunately. It's not like the worst either, right? Can you use it on the Rock Week stages? Yes. Is it good in them? No, not really. It's just like, you know, Olivia just like obliterates it so bad, right? In that case scenario, right? But hey, if you got nothing else to use, it's an option. It's not a good option. It's an option. So, moving on. Gliscobot. Gliscobot is going to be our second, like the best of best here. Pretty simple, right? Gliscobot, really good defenses, has vigilance, first aid, right? These are just like god tier Balvilla skills. Also has no quarter, which makes his damage output one of the highest in the game, right? So there's that as well. And also you got like move gauge regen on again, and the pin missile again. It's just a 2 gauge move. It's like pin missile is so powerful, right? It's one of the most powerful moves in the game, just due to how it's structured in its sync grid, right? So that's why Gliscobot's all the way up there. Gliscobot can very reliably 3v9 a lot of Balvilla stages as well. And yeah, that's basically the criteria for these units up there. You know, if you reliably 3v9 Villa stages, you're good. So, very good. Moving on. Let's actually talk about the non-grid version of Gliscod. Non-grid version of Gliscod is fine, right? Again, it's in this tier of the units that do really, really well on the stages that it needs to do well. It doesn't really perform outside of those stages, but on those stages that it needs to perform, on the super effective stage, or the, bug week stages, Gliscod is definitely the best. I wouldn't say the best, but it's definitely really, really good in those bug week stages, right? It depends on the setup. It depends on the setup, really, between, Gliscod and Pitzer. I personally would prefer Pitzer a bit more, but I could also see why people think Gliscod is much better, right? Your defenses, all that stuff. Gliscod, again, phenomenal. So, non-gridded for beating the bug week stages. Moving on to Typhlosion. Everyone likes a meme on Typhlosion, and without bad reason, right? Typhlosion does not do much damage, and can get caught when its HP is low. But although in Villa, like, Typhlosion is actually not that bad, because one, it has AoE, right? And also, in terms of its HP, like, for Villa, you're not gonna get hit that often, so your HP isn't gonna matter that much. And you have, Typhlosion does have decent buffs and all that stuff. And even if you do get hit, you can heal yourself up. Just in general, it's an okay striker if you use it against something that's, fire weak. It's not the worst. It will do. It's an option. Again, not a great option, but it's an option. So, moving on to Reuniclus. Reuniclus is interesting. Reuniclus gridded, right? So this is, we're gonna put into the still really good tier. Reason being, it can take a decent amount of hits, right? Move gauge is never an issue, basically, for Reuniclus, even though it's using 3 gauge moves, right? And it hits really hard. In terms of psychic, again, I keep on forgetting to do the comparison between Reuniclus and Mega Alakazam, but Reuniclus might be the best psychic striker in the game, especially when fully buffed and stuff. So yeah, Reuniclus up there, makes sense. Moving on, Toucannon. Toucannon was something that I personally ranked a bit lower, but others argued it would probably be a bit higher for the sole reason that and we're gonna put it in the it's starting to struggle a bit here, mainly because outside of blue, that's like literally the only flying type striker that we kind of have that does damage. That's not Rayquaza, because Rayquaza got shafted really bad. But yeah, it could do damage. Beak Blast, sometimes you can activate it, right, with the burn. Most times you can't, unfortunately. But it's something. One reason why I don't like Toucannon in Villa, which is one of the reasons why I initially ranked it a bit lower. At least I still probably think it's slightly lower. It's just 1 tier lower. It's not that big of a deal. Is that 2-turn moves in Villa kind of suck, because in comparison to when you're playing regular single player, right? In single player, you just buff with your supports, and then striker, you just ram the opponent with your striker, right? And regular stages, right? But in Villa, you have to hit with your supports. You have to hit with everyone, right? You cannot waste any turns to get sync move, all that stuff, right? And Toucannon just does not fit that playstyle. If you're just queuing up everything, the dude just goes to the bottom in terms of using its Beak Blast, all that stuff, and it's just a hassle. It's hard, tough, right? So, but hey, it's the only option other than blue for flying type striker. So, other than Rayquaza, so yeah, there you go then. Moving on. I forgot to talk about non-grid Reuniclus, which we'll talk about right now. Non-grid Reuniclus is okay, I guess. We're gonna throw non-grid Reuniclus in the Star Battler Your Summon Luck tier. Reason why it's not in the not bad tier, because you think folks will think, oh, it's a 5-star striker, and there's a psychic weak stage, it should be really good. Not really. Like, it has really good special attack. It's buff. It doesn't have crit. It does not hit hard, even though it has really, really good special attack. It just doesn't hit that hard, unfortunately. Move gauge thing is still good, but again, in comparison to Red Reuniclus, there's no comparison. So Reuniclus is just kind of here, I guess. So yeah, it's borderline. It's borderline. Starting to struggle a bit here though. So it's not that bad. Moving on to Ren Charizard. Obviously in the no. It's still one of the best units in the game, right? Under Stun, this guy is just so good in Villa. Like, again, with this the same as a Gliscod and Garchomp, right? Reliably 3v9 any stage in Villa, like no issue, right? As long as you get good supports and all that. It does have downsides, yeah, but hey, it's really good. Especially when you do have that rejuvenate, right, after you mega. That's my favorite. That might be my favorite part about gridded Charizard, and why I do like it, and why I don't think like Charizard's grid is like absolutely garbage, even though a lot of stuff are kind of whatever in there, right? But rejuvenated is just great, right? And that really fits it a lot. And why am I explaining so much about Charizard? Y'all know why Charizard's so good. Moving on. Let's talk about non-gridded Charizard. Speaking of, non-gridded Charizard, still really good. I don't think it's the best of the best here, because it can get exposed, especially sometimes defensively. But hey, it still can maybe it can still 3v9 a lot of boss stages. Not as reliable as gridded Charizard, obviously. You don't get as much benefit from Sun, unfortunately. But hey, you still do a lot of damage, and that's great. Moving on. Clawitzer, and honestly, with like all the other like water type strikers, it's just kind of in the sorry about your summon luck here. Like Clawitzer, it has two types, water and fighting, and theoretically, it should be much better because you could use it in different stages, and that's just one slot. Except the water and fighting types, they're like not in the same set, so that's kind of irrelevant. Clawitzer, what Clawitzer does good is it heals. That's definitely good, and it is a special water striker, which aside from Blastoise, I don't think we have, which is kind of weird. So there's that. The confusion you get it on is kind of nice. It just doesn't do that much damage. It is what it is. Moving on to Alakazam. This was a controversial one. I put Alakazam a lot lower. Well, not a lot lower, like 2. It's only I only put Alakazam like 2 tiers lower. But NCS did argue that it was better than I thought, and right, says the biggest Sabrina fan. But I really don't think it's like as that good. But I do understand why, and I do think this is a good place to put Alakazam, which is up here with gridded Uniclus at still really good, because Alakazam, like in Villa, it's just so easy to get to Mega in Villa, right? Basically 3 turns, boom, you're a Mega. And at Mega, Alakazam, it hits extremely hard again. It should be really close in terms of who hits harder, Reuniclus or Alakazam, right? Because when I compared like the damages from Alakazam to Mewtwo and Reuniclus to Mewtwo, they seem kind of close. So again, I don't remember the numbers, but you should do around as much damage as Reuniclus does, and Dude could take more hits. Dude has Reflect. I'm not 100% sure if it could take more hits. At least on physical stages it can, right? It has heals. It has all the self buffs. It has MP refresh on those buffs, right? Which obviously Reuniclus has as well, but Reuniclus does not have all the buffs. Again, it's really hard. And also, do keep in mind, we're ranking this just based on how good they deal damage and not how much they support their teammates. But just even when supporting Alakazam itself, although it's not really called supporting since you're doing it yourself, but these were to be support moves when used on itself, it's still really powerful. You get +6 special attack, max crit, reflect, you get speed on the reflect, you get actually, not that you need it, and then you get heals as well. So Alakazam definitely really powerful, for sure, right? So that's why it's gonna be in the still really good tier. So moving on to no. I was just about to say Alakazam's non-gridded version, but then remember it's not a striker. It's a support. Actually, there's 2 supports on this list because we got Samurott as well. If you're wondering why the heck is Samurott here, well, if you check out Samurott stats, right? Let's check out water types. Let's uncheck that. Samurot's attack is basically the same as Feraligatr. Feraligatr's slightly, higher, right? But Samurott has really good buffs. You got +4 speed on Samurott. You got +6 attack on turn 2. Again, really powerful. Samurott definitely could take more hits, right? Which is nice. And yeah, Samurott just does the same damage as Feraligatr's Waterfall does. And again, it also does slightly more on Aqua Tail, which is whatever. But it's also nice. Again, same stuff with like Crash Wake, really similar. Like Crash Wake, Feraligatr, and Hilbert, they're all pretty similar, right? Although I do want to say Feraligatr is like the best of these. Again, you can make an argument to make Feraligatr once you're higher, which is, again, this was one of the most contested ones, I'd say. But yeah, we're not here to talk about Feraligatr again, but Samurott, really good. Moving on to Egosaur. So Egosaur is good. Like, here's the, like, Egosaur is like, Solar Beam is super strong, and I'm gonna put it in the not bad tier. Against the stages that are grass weak, especially now that Ho is a thing. Ho just helps it so much. And when Egosaur first came out, the Datamined, folks were wondering, why does it have like so many crit buffs? Well, it's for Villa, right? So again, these sync pairs don't have grids, or the egg Pokemon don't have sync grids. So with all those extra crit buffs, you could just carry it on to like other stages and all of that. And Venusaur, really good. Hits super hard with Solar Beam. Can't take hits, but who cares, right? You could just have someone else try aggro, which I hear is a lot. I hear this criticism against like these egg Pokemon a lot, like egg starters. Oh, they can't take hits. Yeah, they're strikers. They're not supposed to take hits. Have your tanks take hits. Don't let the striker take hits. Just have someone else try the aggro. Again, Solar Beam super strong. So there's that. Moving on. Wherever this thing is, Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr's an interesting one. Where did it go? Oh no. Conkeldurr is just, unfortunately, of all the fighting types in this game, it's just the worst, unfortunately. So I guess we'll put it in the Rachel gang and friends, and this is the and friends. It's just, of all the fighting types, why would you use Conkeldurr over like anyone? Like Drain Punch is nice to get like some sustain, which is cool, but overall, you'd just rather use Machamp, just because Machamp just does so much more damage. And over both of these, you just use Lucario, because Lucario is insane. Also, when we're talking about Lucario and all that stuff, we are including their upcoming sync grids, right? So yeah, just use Lucario, Conkeldurr, yeah, right. So moving on to Sylveon. Sylveon is going to be also in Rachel Gang and Friends. It is, yes, the only fairy type striker in the game. No, it's not that great, unfortunately. Yes, there is that one stage that needs a fairy type striker, but just literally any other decent striker would do fine against it. Sylveon just does not do that great. I personally would put it a bit higher, but yeah, the general consensus is nah. Like, again, just me trying to argue for Sylveon. Draining Kiss, all that stuff is nice, but I can see why people don't really think she's that great. Moving on to Mewtwo. That's, I think, the first legendary on our list, right? Mewtwo we could put all the way up at, do we have anyone here yet? No. In the super good on multiple stages tier. Mewtwo is super good on multiple stages, right? Makes a lot of sense. Ghost type, Psychic type, both Shadow Ball, Psychic, basically the same. Shadow Ball slightly, 10% higher chance of lowering enemy special defense. Other folks argued it was lower. I argued that Mewtwo should be probably higher. For the reason being, again, in comparison to like something like Solgaleo, which theoretically could do good on multiple stages, but actually doesn't, is that Mewtwo is just much more reliable, right? Mewtwo, the accuracy on Shadow Ball Psychic, not an issue, right? Hits really hard, good stats, all that stuff. Needs support, yes, that's true. But again, support not that big of an issue, right? As long as you get it. Especially with Superior, that has move gauge refresh on all that stuff, right? Superior should be the best here, right? Well, Alexander would be nice as well, but Superior, you have multiple move gauge refreshes on next special attack all. Helps Mewtwo out a lot, and also move gauge regen. So yeah, Mewtwo, will throw it up there. Moving on to Solrock. If you guys remember, Solrock still existed. We're gonna put in the Bra tier. Bra tier because there's just so many better Psychic type Striker. Is like, if you use Solrock on a Psychic weak stage, would it be the worst thing in the world? No. But why would you use Solrock? You just use Mewtwo instead. Mewtwo's free. Dude's like great. Why would you use Solrock, right? So there's that. Moving on, Metagross. Metagross is another member of the the best tier, because Metagross also, like all the other three, can reliably 3v9 all the boss stages, which is again one of the most important criteria for here, right? Also, dude has Iron Head aggravation, flinches. When you play, like, Metagross is probably one of the hardest units to use in the game. You do need a lot of knowledge about the game to actually utilize Metagross well. How to time flinches, enemy attacking order, all that stuff, right? And when used well, Metagross is great. When you don't know how to use Metagross, like the dude's slow, all that stuff, he's probably not that low. But if you're using Metagross incorrectly, then you should have issues. But if you know how to use him, he's like incredibly strong. You could just like sometimes even make opponents just not like attack if you're lucky. You do need a bit of luck though. But also recuperation 2 heals on sync move, again fantastic. So there you go. Moving on. What's next? Oh, Solgaleo. Solgaleo is good, right? You got Solgaleo for the Marshall set, right? Which is where you gotta use Solgaleo. We're gonna put him in the still really good tier. The reason why he's not on the same tier as Mewtwo is because, yes, he has fighting type moves as well as steel type moves, but no, you're probably not going to use it. Like, you can use it, it's just not that great because you're digging into its trainer move, which, again, you do need that trainer move to use Focus Blast, or else it's just going to miss 70 or 30% of the time, which is really, really bad. So you do need a bit of support there with Solgaleo, but the dude does fantastic in the sort of boss stages, right? We're fighting the boss stages when you're not, just worrying about conserving MP or all that stuff. Dude's great. Doesn't need heavy supports, is like, along with like Lance, Solgaleo is probably one of the most heavily supported units in the game. But again, once you get that, not that big of a deal. Dude will just destroy Sora if Sora doesn't destroy your team first. So there's that. All right. I forgot to talk about the non-gridded version of Metagross. Yeah, non-gridded version of Metagross is not as great. He's still not bad, right? We could throw it in the still really good tier because it's still really good. Just decent damage. Really tanky physically, right? All that stuff. If you get a flinch off, that's great. But I also got bullet punch for move gauge control, so it's like the move gauge thing isn't like that bad. All that stuff. Again, the dude's attack stat is just like insanely high, right? Literally the highest in the game, 460. Or wait, yeah, 460. That was steal, but yeah, highest in the game, does a lot of damage, and is good physically, defensively. Moving on to Rampardos. Rampardos is actually not a bad rock striker, but I would put it in the Bra tier because in Villa you don't want to die, right? The dude, head smash is going to, you will kill yourself in 2 turns. That is not good in Villa, right? You want your stuff alive, but can it do a lot of damage in that 2 hits? Yes, it could do a lot of damage. That's why it's not in the Y tier, but in the Bra tier. So pretty simple. Empoleon, we're gonna put it in the Y tier. Can it be in the Bra tier? Yeah, but we all like memeing on Empoleon, and also this shows that DNA really needs to come out with a really, really, really good Empoleon Secret. So just drawing your attention, Empoleon, not that great. I mean, okay, it's not the worst in the water weak stages, but again, if you want to put it in the Bra tier, I'm fine with that. But personally, I'm putting it in the Y tier, because it's just not like what you would use any other water type striker over Empoleon, right? All right, moving on. Rayquaza, probably the weakest legendary and probably one of the biggest shafts of Pokemon Masters. We're going to put it in the starting to struggle a bit tier. Reason being, why would you use Rayquaza? If you're using it as Flying type striker, just use Kaylee instead. Just use Blue instead. If you're trying to use it as a Dragon type striker, if you're using it as a physical Dragon type striker, just use Haxorus instead. If you're trying to use it as a Draco Meteor, right, special Dragon type striker, use Kingdra instead. Both of those are the free to play Dragon types are just so much better than Rayquaza, unfortunately. So that's why it's in the starting to struggle a bit here. So yeah, this chapter I'm super salty about Rayquaza. But oh well. Moving on to Crobat. Crobat we're gonna put it in the starting to struggle a bit here. It's not bad. Crobat's really, really good for Villa. Except it's only good for like that one stage Lyra. So that's about it. Pretty straightforward. Moving on to Pitzer. Pitzer is not the worst. Pitzer's not the worst. It could definitely struggle, right? Depending on your team comp, but I've recently found using Pitzer with Eevee actually has some really good results. So we're gonna put it in the starting to struggle a bit. Again, it's not gonna just like dominate certain stages, but it should do decent against stages that it's it's super effective against. That's why we're gonna throw it in the starting to struggle a bit tier. Right, I personally really like using Pitzer. A lot of you guys haven't watched one of my Battle videos. I did a run with Pitzer. It's great. It's super fun. All right, moving on to the next one. Oh, Gridded Kingdra. And also when talking about these, the Gridded Kingdras and all that stuff, we're assuming them at 3 out of 5 because next week, when the part 2 of the whole event comes out, we will get the candy that would be enough to make them out into 3 out of 5, right? So, for Kingdra, we're gonna put Kingdra in the still really good tier. Because it's still really good, right? It's definitely one of the better Dragon type strikers in the game. I wouldn't say it's the if you put Kingdra like in a vacuum, it's really, really powerful. With the restrictions of Villa, slightly not as good, right? It definitely does the most damage per hit, I would imagine. Ooh, actually, I'm not sure about that. I haven't done a calculation. Okay, I take that back. I haven't done a calculation on that, but Kingdra's really good, especially if you have like Dauntless on that. So your special attack doesn't decrease when you use Draco Meteor, so you don't have to worry about that. So Kingdra again hits really hard. Multiple Dragon Week stages you can use it on, it obliterates them, and even outside of that, it could have some success, right? Especially when you have rain and all that stuff, right? So moving on to the next one, Chandelier. Chandelier is not the worst. I personally, I'll put it in the Rachel Gang and Friends tier. It's just that you have Mewtwo. Just use Mewtwo, right? Like why or Miss Magius. You use Miss Magius. Why would you use Chandelier? You burn yourself. That's kind of bad. It's not the worst, but especially if you do have like was it Gritty, right? Gritty 3. It does good damage, but you just use Mewtwo instead. Why would you use Chandelier? So if you want to put it like one tier higher, that's fine as well, right? So moving on to the next one, Ho is definitely the strongest of the legendaries, in my opinion. I see a lot of people underrating Ho a lot, because I get why it didn't come out with 5 out of 5, free 20 out of 20, but Ho is just so good. Ho is just so powerful. Like Solar Beam, again, one of the best moves in the game. It's just Solar Beam is super good. You get Sun, which again in Villa, because in order to get Sun, you need to use your Sync move. But in Villa, you just get Sync move so quickly, right? That's like not an issue at all. You get Sun on turn 3. It comes out, and also you have Sacred Fire, which decreases opponents' defenses, does some chip damage, right? Or at least 50% chance to do so. And again, Solar Beam, super powerful. As a Fire type striker, it's not that great. Although you could use it, it's usable as a Fire type striker, but you're mainly going to be using it as a Grass type striker. Again, Fire type striker, it's fine. It's not a bad Fire type striker. It's just so powerful when you use Solar Beam against Grass Weak stages, right? Even not against Grass Weak stages, Solar Beam is super powerful, right? And there's just so many units that could benefit from Sun, right? Stuff from Meganium, Vileplume, Gardenia, right? All that stuff. It's just super Charizard, right? Charizard. It's just so good. It's just really, really good. Moving on. Also, for those worried about its damage, don't worry about it. It has 60% boost on its passive when the sun's out. And also, the sun, by the way, lasts all the way until like your next sync move. So like you basically get endless sun once you get your first sun up, which again is super quick to get up. Moving on, Haxorus. Haxorus is one of the best strikers for Villa just because of how it's constructed, right? Haxorus, again, we're assuming 3 out of 5. It has carry on, so every time you take out a unit on the opponent's side of the field, you get 1 attack buff, right? And you don't need to spend any MP on that. And also, Outrage, super strong if you're wondering. Well, Outrage gets you confused. Well, you could use a Lucky skill to get Lesson Confusion 9 if you're wondering why Lesson Confusion 9, not like Clear-Headed or something. Because in its Synchrid, it has Outrage Confusion Boon 5, which increases your Outrage damage by 50% when you're confused. So this thing is going to be an absolute monster when that third copy drops, or I mean the 3-star Striker Candy drops. I know a lot of people want to use it on Karina. I highly suggest using it on Haxorus over Karina. Like Haxorus is just such a powerhouse for Villa, right? A lot of people have been having a lot of success with Haxorus. I've seen people just clear Villa just like using Haxorus. So it's just that powerful. And it was like 2 out of 5 yet. It's not even like 3 out of 5. Moving on to Emboar. Emboar is kind of a potato, right? And Villa. We're gonna put it in the Rachel gang and friends tier. It's just there's just so many like good fire type strikers, right? Same thing as like Chandelier. There's so many other good fire type strikers. Why would you Emboar? But the reason why Emboar's not like as bad because Emboar does have like a really big issue is it has recoil, which again is really bad. But the reason why it's not like all the way down here is it has potion, which not only helps itself, but you could use it on other folks. And also, it does have Flame Charge, which increases its speed. So even if you're just not using Flare Blitz, you could just like spam like Flame Charge, which gives you a lot of gauges that, you know, more speed, more gauges, more attacks, more damage. So makes sense. Also, Duke has a lot of HP. Even though like most recoil, I think all recoil strikers have a lot of HP, but you know, I just wanted to mention that. Anyways, moving on to Salzal. Salzal is also another really underrated unit in the game as well. I'm gonna put it in the not bad tier. So again, against any poison type stages, it just obliterates them. And one point that people just for some reason forget is like the dude's grid, or I'm not dude, but sorry, since all Salzals are female, but you know, Salzal's grid, actually you get where is it? Down here. Smoke Staggering 4, which has a 50% chance of flinching the opponent. Again, we've already mentioned so many times how good flinch is in Villa, right? So really easy to flinch your opponent, and also 50% chance to poison your opponent as well on Smog. So one Smog, it's a 1 gauge move with move gauge refresh. Again, with also the action, so it doesn't miss. Like still miss, but you know, very unlikely to miss. So with the 1 gauge move that has move gauge refresh, you could both have a 50% chance of poison and flinch your opponent at the same time. Really powerful. And does, again, not bad damage because you got Harry 3, which powers up your attacks by 30% when the opponent is flinching. And you also got Toxic Power 3, which that's another extra 30% power up when the opponent is poisoned or badly poisoned. So not as bad as a lot of people think. But ungridded Salzal is a complete potato. We're gonna put non-gridded Salzal in the sorry about your summon luck tier. Is it usable against poison weak stages? Yes. Is there any other better options? Also yes. Like I'd probably even use Roxy over it. Maybe. Yeah. Roxy does have an issue with poison though, but I don't know. It depends. Like, you know, they're pretty close. But I definitely use Crobat over both of them. That's for sure. Moving on. Torkoal. Torkoal was one that I personally did rank much lower, but after again, you know, getting some more feedback on the tier list, I do think I agree that it should be higher than what I initially thought it was. And I'm gonna put it in the still really good tier because first of all, dude doesn't die. Again, Will-O-Wisp, that's chip burn damage. And also, Ember just does so much damage for 1 gauge move. The reason why I didn't think it was as good as people thought it was initially was because I don't think 1 gauge move damage, if you're using it as a main DPS, if you're using it as like an off DPS, which is why, you know, Torkoal is that great, right? It's a lot of people use it for an off DPS, right? 1 gauge move stamina, really easy to use in terms of, move gauge control wise. You don't have to spend too much resources on Torkoal, right, to make him do a lot of damage. Well, it's a decent amount of damage, right? So that's why I didn't think it was good initially, but when I think about it as more of like an off striker, that it makes a lot of sense. The dude does a lot of damage there, so yeah, there's that. So moving on to Mudsdale. I'm not going to put it in the Y tier. I'm going to put it in the bruh tier because, like, again, if you don't have Cynthia, it's like the only ground type striker. But you also don't need to have to use a ground type striker for that stage, right? You just use like a really good striker, right? Like with all the stages. But yeah, this Mudsdale's not good. I don't know what else to say. It's just not that good. I mean, defensively, it's not bad, I guess. But yeah, it's just, yeah, no. Moving on to Gallade. Gallade is actually awesome. Like, the more I look into it, the better it gets. So one thing about Gallade, if you guys don't know, like, let's go to Gallade's grid. Gallade stuff like let's see, where is it? Where is it? Stuff like fierce entry and like the moves that like raise your certain stats when like you enter like grand entry. Like these kind of moves that raises your certain stats that when you enter the battle, when you mega, it activates again for some reason. I don't know why, but it does. And that's like really good. And also, again, like with moves like these, you just don't need to really expand any MP to use it, right? It's just good. You just can use it every time you use it in a new stage. It, it just naturally increases your certain stats that you don't really have to worry about. And again, this guy does a lot of damage. Got status quo with close combat, so you don't have to worry too much defensively. Got ramming speed, all that stuff. Like the guy hits like a truck. Critical strike, 2 critical strikes. Yeah, really good. I don't really care too much about the focus boss build though. It's kind of whatever. Just, mainly close combat wise. He's good. Yeah, natural remedy. A lot of good stuff for Villa that Gallade had. Like the dude's almost like just built for like Villa. So that's why Gallade's all the way up there. As for regular Gallade, regular Gallade's like not bad, but we're gonna put regular Gallade in the starting to struggle a bit here. It's just that just use Lucario instead, right? That's again with all these other fighting type strikers. But yeah, just use Lucario instead. I don't know what else to say. A gridded Lucario, don't like use regular Lucario over it though. Moving on to Miss Magus. Miss Magus is not bad, right? For that one stage that that you needed it, or the stage that are weak to Ghost, right? It's definitely one of the better Ghost type strikers in the game. Reason why it's not higher because it doesn't do anything else outside of that. But in those stages, it's really good. It does its job, and yeah, that's all we need from it. Moving on to gridded Lucario. Gridded Lucario is really good, right? We're gonna put gridded Lucario up here in the still really good tier. It's just, first of all, it's free to play, which is great, right? And yeah, as a fighting type striker, it does its job. All the fighting type stages, you're fine against, right? And also, it has a lot of attack boost, which again, in different situations, you could change the grid to fit whatever kind of battle you're against, your MP situation, your HP situation, all that stuff. So Lucario is phenomenal. So moving on to Exard. Exard is a sad story. We're gonna put it in Rachel Gang and Friends tier. It's just that again, like just use like I don't know, Inferno instead. Just like use any other like I guess other than Emboar. Just like use Typhlosion or something. I don't know. Just use something else. Yeah, just use something else. That's another fire type tracker. Moving on. Although Typhlosion is not a really good example. Like Typhlosion is like borderline Rachel Gang tier. Again, moving on to Infernape. Infernape's really nice, especially with with it that's like full grid expanded. I'm gonna put it in the starting to struggle a bit tier, although it's really good. Only reason being is, yeah, again, fire type striker, you get shafted. Like Torkoal's a thing, Ho's a thing, Charizard, gridded, ungridded Charizard are a thing. Yeah, you just kind of get shafted there a bit. Moving on to Milotic, which I didn't even think to put it in here at first, And I did put it much lower at first, but NCS did eventually convince me that it is actually like really, really good. So we're gonna put it in the super good on multiple stages tier. It's kind of similar to Torkoal, because with Whirlpool actually does a lot of DOT damage. It does like much more than you think, and you could also increase that, all that stuff, and its sync move, you recover HP with, and you know when you're not using MP, which you know a lot of stages you kind of want to conserve MP for the boss stages, and Milotic is perfect for that because Milotic doesn't even have any stat buffing moves, and Milotic's base special attack is like really, really good. 300 base special attack, right? It's like, look at like its base special attack and then compare it to like all the other like water type strikers. Their like base physical attack, like the best one is 257. It's like so much higher than Feraligatr. Yeah, and also Brian, when the opponent is under 50% HP, Milo hits like a truck. If you guys didn't see like my Milo showcase video, it did like 11k on a sync move, right? And you know, on that 1 or 2 stages that you actually need a water type striker, right? In the later stage, oops, sorry about that. In the later stages, you know, once you fully support Milotic, right? Milotic just hits like it just hits super, super hard. It's attack unit, but its base stats are just so good that when you fully support it, and its moves, all that stuff are so good, and its sync grid, it just gives you so many multipliers that like it just skyrockets its damage to like out damage, like I don't know, like at max it out damage like probably like 80% of all the strikers in the game. So I'm definitely pleasantly surprised by this. And also it also doesn't die because it just tanks a lot, and that's pretty cool. Anyways, that's Milotic. The non-synchronous Milotic we're not gonna. It's just not that great. But yeah, moving on to slacking. It's gonna be in the Y tier because like why would you, dude? As recoil, you know, he heals like all. I think all recoil users heal, right? You know, it heals, but like still, it's limited use heal. He's really, really hard on double edge, but again, still recoil, and it's normal type. You're not even gonna use it. Like at least like Ember, you could use it on like Fire Weak stages, I guess. This guy on Rock Weak stages. This guy on like nothing. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Sceptile, we're gonna throw it in the not bad tier, right? Against all the grass type weak stages, it just absolutely obliterates, right? It obliterates all the grass type weak stages. It is kind of demanding in terms of move gauge, which is a slight issue. And but hey, if you do have Dauntless Sceptile, like if it's Dauntless Sceptile, I'd probably even like move it like slightly higher. Maybe, but it could still also be here as well. But yeah, it is slightly demanding on move gauges, which is a bit of an issue, right? So why it's not higher. But hey, it hits hard, and if you do have speed sports, all that stuff, gauge sports, like this guy could deal some really, really serious damage against your opponent. Moving on to Zebstrika. Honestly, Zebstrika is so sad, man. Like Zebstrika used to be really, really good, right? You know, was one of the best damage dealers in the game. And in terms of just pure damage, obviously the recoil is an issue, right? But now it's just like Villa. Honestly, I was going to put it in Y tier, but like it still does good damage. That's why we're going to put it in the bruh tier. Again, recoil sucks. Also, electric type is Rachel and Gang, but has recoil, so it's like worse. So yeah, that's where Zebstrika is like, and like the damage isn't even that good, man. The damage isn't even that good anymore. It just got like power crept so much, unfortunately. Moving on to Mew. Mew, we're gonna put it in the starting to struggle a bit here. As to why, Mew is extremely unreliable, right? It's very RNG based. But hey, if you need it against like a Fire Weak stage, which you probably don't, or Ice Weak stage, which you probably don't, and Electro type weak stage, oh, you don't need to use any of those. Okay, so if you're using Mew for damage, it's going to be mainly for Psychic weak stages. Initially, I was going to think to put it higher, because again, it can tank really well, right? And I was thinking, oh, maybe like a Sync Nuke build, right? You know, because again, it's really easy to get Sync moves up in Villa. And then I remembered after you use your first Sync Nuke, Mew loses Swift, which is a big part of how to get Sync moves up quick with Mew, unfortunately. So yeah, Mew's again. This is not bad. This is not bad. Struggling a bit, and also Psychic, just use Mewtwo instead, right? Anyways, moving on to Alolan Raichu. Alolan Raichu is going to be in the Rachel and Gang friends because it's electric type and it's Rachel and Gang, and the dude doesn't do that much damage, unfortunately. I see a lot of people overhyping the dude's like 3 out of 5 grid. I don't see why people are like hyping it up that much. It's still not the best. Yeah. Anyways, Roserade would be in the same tier as Sceptile if Lucky Skills weren't a thing. Dauntless just makes Sceptile so much better, right? And that's why Roserade is probably going to be a tier lower, just because basically Dauntless. But can you put Dauntless on Roserade? Yes, but it's just not that great because Roserade's trainer move depends on its special attack decreasing, right? So you could get plus 12 special attack, which looks super awesome when you actually get to the bottoms of your special attack debuffs. But yeah, Roserade, we'll put it 1 tier under Sceptile for now. So moving on to Xatu. Xatu is going to be in the sorry about you some luck tier, which again, it's not the worst in places where you could use it. And that's kind of like the keyword. There's just not that many places you could use it. What Xatu does have going for it, which I do like a lot, is its defenses. That's really, really good defenses. Yeah, it just doesn't hit that hard, and it can hit hard, but it just really depends. It's just super situational, unfortunately, right? But again, it's not bad. It's not bad. Also, Psychic type Strikers, Mewtwo's there, right? So, anyways, moving on. Oh, that's the last one. Pidgeot. Pidgeot. We're gonna put it in the not bad tier. Because this is literally the best flying type striker we have in the game, and no one else is really close. Even though Pidgeot's not the best in Villa, just because of how the how you have to manage MP and all that stuff. Accuracy is an issue. Crit's also a bit of an issue, right? But hey, if you give it some support, it's not that bad, right? So yeah, Pidgeot's nice. So, anyways, that's me for this one. I guess that's the full tier list. And for those who are complaining, oh, dude, bro, like it's an hour long. Is it an hour long? Oh, it actually is an hour long. Dude, make them shorter. I can't. It's like 60 Pokemon. Am I just gonna just spend like 20 seconds just showing you like a picture of this tier group, like zero explanation, and then if I did that, like what if I had Pikachu or not, like back with Pikachu not good. What if I had like Slacking at like the best tier and like zero explanation, and like what the heck, why Slacking, what is he doing up there, right? I have to explain to you why these units are in the places that they are, right? I guess Slacking's not that good of a good example because everyone knows that's like full of, right? If you put it up there, I guess Lycanroc would be a good example. If I put Lycanroc up there, people don't know what the heck is going on, right? And even here, like some people don't know why you're putting it in places, so that's why, again, just have to explain them. And there's like 60 of these, so yeah. I will be also doing a support / tank / other stuff list, tier list for like all the other stuff, which honestly is more important. Like I really do not think strikers are that important in Battle in comparison to tanks and supports. I just think tanks and supports are so much more important in Battle than strikers. And again, I personally don't really care about tier list that much, but folks want me to do it, so here you go. Again, this is just me and NCS and some other folks on Discord opinions, right? If you don't agree with it, that's fine. Again, don't really care. So yeah, that's me for this one. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like if you enjoyed this video, so our channel for some more Pokemon Masters content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.